Hello students, next we will look into the properties of continuous time Fourier series. There are a series of properties. One by one we will look at them. The first one is the linearity property. The linearity property states that if x1 of t results in a Fourier series which is Cn, that is the Fourier series coefficients, and x2 of t results in a Fourier series coefficient of dn. Dn is just the nomenclature is changed from C to n, that's all, because it's of a different function. So if x1 results in Cn and the Fourier series of x2 results in dn, then according to the linearity property, a times x1 of t and b times x2 of t will give a Fourier series which is a times Cn plus b times dn. Let's prove it. So from definition, if we want to find out the Fourier series of, any function a x1 of t plus b x2 of t, then let me write 2 properly, x2 of t, then basically we have to find out the coefficient, and the equation of coefficient is 1 by t integral from t0 to t0 plus capital T, the function which is in our case a x1 of t plus b x2 of t into e raised to power minus jn omega naught t dt, correct? So this is the equation. Now since this equation can be split apart into two, I will write it as two separate equations. So that is equal to 1 by t integral t0 to t0 plus capital T a x1 of t, okay, a x1 of t e raised to power minus jn omega naught t dt plus integral t0 to t0 plus capital T b x2 of t e raised to power minus jn omega naught t dt, from which you can see that I can take a and b outside the integration, and similarly 1 by t is common for both of them, so I can write it as, so a I have taken outside, and 1 by t I have put common for both of them. Now what is this? This is basically C of n, and this is basically D of n. So I can write a C of n plus b D of n, hence proved. The next principle is basically the time shifting property. This next property is time shifting property, which states that if x of t gives a Fourier series coefficient of C of n, then if you are time shifting x of t from x of t to x of t minus t naught, then it is, in the case of Fourier series, if you take the function Fourier series, then all that is going to happen is you are going to multiply a function e raised to power minus jn omega naught t naught with the Cn that you have already got here. So then let us prove this. Its proof is very simple. We know from definition that x of t is given as summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity Cn e raised to power j n omega naught t. Then if I am trying to find out what is x of t minus t naught, it means I have to substitute t minus t naught instead of t. So the summation is same, n is equal to minus infinity to infinity, c of n is also also the same, and e raised to power j n omega naught is there, and instead of t you will write t minus t naught. Okay, that can be split apart into summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity Cn e raised to power j n omega naught t into e raised to power minus j n omega naught t naught. Okay, e raised to power minus j n omega naught t naught, which can be basically taken out separately. Therefore x of t minus t naught can now be written as e raised to power minus j n omega naught t naught. Okay, or I will not take it out. I will now write these two together. So I will basically get summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity, and these two things I will write together, that is e raised to power minus j n omega naught t naught with Cn and multiplied with e raised to power j n omega naught t. So now you can see, instead of Cn for xt, if it was Cn, for xt minus t naught it is this function. Hence this is proved. The next property is the time reversal property, which states that if x of t gives a Fourier series of c of n, then if we reverse the time, that is, instead of x of t, if I have x of minus t where I have reversed the time, then all I am going to have is Fourier series c of minus n. Now you might be thinking that, I have already told that c of n is same as c of minus n, isn't it? Then how is it going to be same? See, what I have said is that the magnitude of c of n is same as the magnitude of c of minus n. That does not mean that c of n will be equal to c of minus n, because the angle may be different, and it's not maybe, it's actually different, the angle of. So c of n will have a real and an imaginary value. If there is no imaginary value, then obviously this is going to be same. But if there is an imaginary value, that means if the function is complex, then c of n, instead you will have a different c of minus n. So anyway, what time reversal property says is that if x of t gives a function c of n, then x of minus t will give me a function of c of minus n. Okay, so let us prove this. Again, it's very simple, that from definition we know that x of t can be written as summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity Cn e raised to power j n omega naught t. Correct? Therefore, if I am trying to find out for the case of x of minus t, all I have to do is I have to put the value of t as minus t. So I will write this Cn e raised to power j n omega naught t. Now instead of t it is minus t. Now if we substitute instead of n, or instead of minus n, instead of minus n, if I substitute the value as p, okay, then what is the equation going to look like? Then the equation is going to be, then x of t is going to be equal to, x of minus t is going to be equal to summation, so n becomes, n is equal to minus n is equal to p, so this summation will go from p, which is now from infinity, instead of minus infinity it will be from infinity to minus infinity, and c of n, now n will become minus p, and I will have e raised to power, instead of minus n I can write p omega naught t, correct? So this one you can see that summation from minus infinity to minus infinity is same as from infinity minus infinity to infinity, so I can write this as p is equal to minus infinity to infinity, is one and the same thing. So here, from here you can see that only the difference that has come is basically the n has changed to p, and you can look that this equation and this equation is the same, but instead of n there is p, but see what has happened here. Here it has become c of minus p instead of c of n, correct? So now if we put p is equal to not minus n, p is equal to n, then what is the value I am going to get? I am going to get x of minus t is going to be equal to summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity, let me write infinity properly, infinity, then c of minus n e raised to power j n omega naught t. So you can see that the only thing that has happened is c of n has become c of minus n, hence proved. The next property, or the fourth property that we will do, is time scaling property, which basically states that if x of t gives a Fourier series of c of n, then if you are going to take a time scaled function, so how do you time scale it? You multiply it with a, instead of t you multiply it with a, and then you get at. In that case you will get the Fourier series as c of n itself, but with a new value of omega naught, which changes from omega naught to a omega naught. So I will draw that arrow properly. From omega naught it will change to a omega naught. So that is going to be the difference. So let us prove this. So we know from definition that x of t is going to be equal to summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity c of n e raised to power j n omega naught t. You can clearly see, then if I am trying to write the equation for x of at, where instead of t I will substitute with at, then there is going to be no change in summation from minus infinity to infinity. C of n is also going to remain the same, e raised to power j n and omega naught multiplied with at, which can actually be seen as x of at is summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity cn e raised to power jn, and now this a, instead of multiplying with t, I will imagine that it is being multiplied with omega naught. It's one and the same thing because they are all multiplied together. So here you can see that this equation corresponds to the original equation with C of n being C of n itself, but what has changed is instead of omega naught we are having a omega naught. That is the only difference that is going to happen. So hence proved that there is going to be no change. The only change that is going to happen is that the fundamental frequency will change from omega to a omega naught. That's the only thing that is going to happen, that the fundamental frequency is going to change. Clear? So then we will move to the next property, the fifth property. Time differentiation property states that if x of t Fourier series is going to give me a coefficient Cn, then if you are going to differentiate with respect to time x of t, then the Fourier series of that is basically C of n itself, but it is just multiplied with additional j n omega naught multiplied with Cn. That is the only difference that is going to come. Let us prove this. From definition, we know that x of t is basically summation of C of n e raised to power j n omega naught. Then if we are going to differentiate, that is d by dt of x of t, then it is going to be basically differentiating this whole function. But we know that when you are going to differentiate, this summation does not matter because it is with respect to n, and even this summation does not matter because that is also with respect to n. So there is no point in differentiating these two. The only differentiation that will happen for that. So I will write summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity Cn d by dt of e raised to power j n omega naught t, where if I am going to differentiate it, then n is equal to minus infinity to infinity Cn, differentiation of exponential function is e raised to power j n omega naught t multiplied with j n omega naught. Clear? J n omega naught. So if I am going to write therefore differentiation of x of t with respect to t, I can write summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity, and now I am going to write, the last portion I am going to keep it with C of n. So I will write j n omega naught Cn together into e raised to power j n omega naught t, which basically means that instead of Cn now we have got j n omega naught Cn, and that was what the property was saying, therefore proved. Hence proved. Next we will look into time integration property, which states that if we take the Fourier series of x of t, we get C of n. Then if we try to find out the Fourier series of the integration from minus infinity to current time t of x of tau d tau, where you understand why I have written tau, because the integration is with respect to tau and you will get the value of the present time. So this is basically integration of x of t. The Fourier series of that, if you would try to calculate, you will get C of n divided by j n omega naught. So if it was differentiation, then it was multiplying with j n omega naught, and if it was integration, then it is going to be C n divided by j n omega naught. But there is a small condition and the condition is that this will happen only if C of 0 is if C of 0 is equal to 0, which actually can also be written as, note, only possible if the signal has no DC value. That means C of 0 is equal to 0. That means if you are going to take a signal, any signal that is periodic, and suppose if you are going to draw the one period of the signal, then if you are having a signal like this is the periodic signal. If you would take a period, the period would be this. DC value means you have to find out the area under the curve. The area under the curve, if it is not 0, then there is no, you cannot integrate the function. Basically, you cannot find out, or you cannot apply the time integration property. So what is the kind of a signal that will have 0 DC value? For example, if you are having a signal which is having both a positive as well as a negative curve, that means you are having some positive A value and a negative A value, and then that signal is repeating again and again. So within one period, if you would try to find out the area here would cancel out the area in the negative part. That means if you would try to do the integration of this signal, it will basically, the DC value will come out to be 0. Only in this case this property can be applied, otherwise this property cannot be applied. No DC value. So no need to write this statement, you can just write this: if C of 0 is equal to 0. So let us prove this. From definition we know that x of t is equal to summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity Cn e raised to power jn omega naught t. Correct? Then if we are trying to find out what is the integration from minus infinity to some value t of x of t dt. Now I told you already, if it's a periodic signal and if you are not having that positive and negative axis or negative signal, then I already told you that if you are going to have, suppose, this kind of a signal, this is also periodic, but since it does not have any negative area, it has only positive areas, the integration would actually come out to be infinity, isn't it? So in that case I cannot actually do this. So what I will do instead is, what I will say is that this is possible, and that is possible only if this is the condition. Okay, only if this is the condition. So if that is possible, then if I want to find out what is the integral of that, then it is as good as finding out the integration from minus infinity to t of this summation that I will write in bracket, summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity Cn e raised to power jn omega naught t bracket closed dt. Now as you can see, rest all it is n. The only thing that is open, only thing that is having a value of t is e raised to power j n omega naught t. So I will write that summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity Cn, that there is going to be no change. The only change is going to happen from minus infinity t e raised to power j n omega naught t dt. Sorry, it was tau d tau. I should have written this as tau. My mistake. Okay, so this is tau d tau, and this also is d tau d tau. I should have written it as d tau. So if that is the case, then here I should write this is okay. Then instead of t, this will become tau. So this is also tau, and similarly this is also tau. That I should not forget. So if I am going to integrate this, you all know that summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity Cn, and integration of this will give me the function e raised to power jn omega naught tau with denominator jn omega naught, and that I will put it in a bracket. It is going to be from minus infinity to t, and you know that if I am going to put, then this I will basically get, let me now, so this I will basically get summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity Cn, and then here I will have e raised to power jn omega naught t minus e raised to power infinity, means it is going to be minus infinity straight away, divided by jn omega naught, correct, where e raised to power minus infinity is in a way 0. So now I can write, therefore, if I am trying to look minus infinity to t of x of tau d tau, then it will be summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity, and now I will take this factor with c of n, this factor I will take with c of n, and so I will get Cn divided by jn omega naught multiplied with whatever is remaining, which is e raised to power jn omega naught t. So you can see rest of everything remains same, but only c of n has undergone a change from c of n to c of n divided by jn omega naught. Hence this is proved. Next we will look into the next property, the seventh property, which is basically a convolution theorem, or property. Convolution theorem or property, which states that if x1 of t gives a Fourier series of c of n, Cn, and x2 of t gives a Fourier series of Dn, then the convolution of x1 of t with x2 of t. So I have drawn the convolution sign. So x1 of t convolution with x2 of t, if you would try to take the Fourier series of that, it will be simply the time period t multiplied with Cn dn. This time period t you should not forget. Okay, it's basically the time period t. Okay, and this is also written as a theorem, and the statement basically is given as convolution of two functions in time domain is equivalent to the multiplication of their Fourier coefficients in frequency domain. This is a very important property. Obviously we are not going to use this property much in Fourier series, but when in Fourier transform, or even in your Laplace transform, or even in your Z transform that you are going to study later, everywhere this property is going to be very, very useful, because we know that mathematically it is difficult to calculate the convolution. It takes a lot of time. So what generally people wish to do is they convert or they find out the Fourier series of x of n, x1 of t. Similarly, they find out the Fourier series of x2 of t, and those two are basically multiplied, and then you take the inverse Fourier series. Now we are not going to do the inverse Fourier series, but obviously when we study Fourier transform, we have to do Fourier transform, inverse Fourier transform. Similarly, Laplace transform, inverse Laplace transform. Z transform, inverse Z transform. So in all those cases there is an inverse form also. So we go from convolution, we don't do convolution, instead we take the transform of x1 x2, multiply those two transforms, and then we do a reverse, that means an inverse transform, and get the answer. And this is something that you have already seen in network theory, wherein we said that to avoid doing problems in integration and differentiation, we better take all the complex function, everything, we will basically convert it into Laplace domain or Laplace transform, and then find out the answer, and then go back in time domain by using Laplace inverse transform. So the same thing we will be using, but as I said, this is a very important property, that is the convolution theorem or convolution property. So let us prove it. Now we already know that the Fourier series of any function is basically given by 1 by t integral from starting point to that period, that is 0 to t, a function multiplied with e raised to power j n omega naught t. This is something that we already know. Now we can substitute for the case of convolution. We know the equation of convolution for a continuous time signal. Thus we can write integral, now 1 by t integral 0 to t, and now within this bracket I can write the equation of convolution as x1 of tau into x2 of t minus tau d tau. The integration is generally from minus infinity to infinity, but we know that for a periodic signal the convolution will keep on repeating itself at every period. That's why we are writing it from 0 to t. Okay, and then the remaining portion e raised to power minus jn omega naught t dt. Next, interchanging the order of integration, we will get the 1 by t as such, there is no issue, that's the constant value 1 by t. Then we will try to take the tau terms outside, so 0 to t x1 tau we will take outside, and the remaining t based equations we will put inside. So again 0 to t, that is this 0 to t, that 0 to t that we will take inside, and then the remaining portion is x2 t minus tau, and d tau we have taken outside, e raised to power minus jn omega naught t dt, and then d tau is outside. So we have changed the order of integration. Next, we substitute, instead of t minus tau, another variable, that is t dash. Then the dt will become dt dash if we differentiate this equation, correct? So then in that case I will get the equation as 1 by t integral 0 to capital T x1 of tau, and then within brackets the limit from 0 to t x2 of t dash, and then the e raised to power jn omega naught. Now instead of t I will write t dash plus tau, and instead of dt I will write dt dash and then d tau. Now you can see that this tau term can be taken outside the integration, because e raised to power a plus b is as good as writing e raised to power a into e raised to power b. So here this tau term I can take it outside the first integration, that is the bracket, So based on that, I can now rewrite this as 1 by t integral 1 by t integral x1 tau, and here I have taken this plus tau term, that is e raised to power minus j n omega naught tau. That term I have taken it outside the integration because this is with respect to dt dash only. So I have taken that term outside, and now in this equation you can see this is the equation of Fourier series. This is the equation of Fourier series calculation of x2 of x2 of t. Here it is t dash, but we can say that only the t dash has changed. So basically it is the Fourier series of x2 of t, which is what? Which is d of n. So I can write, or I can take that bracket outside and write it as two separate equations. So I have separated the equation. Now I know that 1 by t has to be there in this equation. I have to multiply it with 1 by t, which is already here. Then this becomes the Fourier coefficient of x1 of t, whereas this becomes the Fourier coefficient of x2 of t, but obviously there is not 1 by t here. So one of the things that I have to do is, I have to take this 1 by t inside the bracket, so that I am going to do here. And here I have to put a 1 by t, so I will multiply it with t. So I will multiply it with t so that it cancels out and the equation remains the same. So for 1 by t I have multiplied it with t, and now I can write that t, this t I will write in the front, and what remains is this function, which is basically the Fourier series of x1 of t, which we know is Cn, and this function which is the Fourier series of x2 of t, which is dn. So this will be basically t multiplied with Cn into dn. So that is the Fourier series of the convolution x1 of t with x2 of t. So therefore I can say that this is proved. So hence proved. Next property is the modulation property or multiplication property, which states that if the Fourier series of x1 of t is c of n, and if the Fourier series of x2 of t is d of n, then if I am going to multiply, x1 of t with x2 of t, then the Fourier series of that multiplication is going to be actually the convolution between c of n and d of n. Okay, that is going to be the convolution, and we write the equation of convolution between c of n and d of n as, let's take L is equal to minus infinity to infinity c of L d of n minus L. If you would go back into the convolution sum, the equation of convolution sum is something like this. So it is c of L into d of n minus L. So this is basically the convolution of c of n and d of n. So you can see in previous property, in time domain when you were multiplying, in frequency domain it got, in time domain when you were convoluting, in frequency domain it got multiplication, correct? That means if you multiplied x1 with x2 in the frequency domain, you got t into cn into dn, whereas if you convolute. But if you would multiply between x1 and x2, then what will happen is, here you will have basically cn convolution with the d of n, the equation of which is basically given there. So you can see convolution in one domain leads to multiplication in the other domain. This is, again, as I said, this conversion is very, very important mathematically. So let us prove this. So we know by definition that if you have any function, the Fourier series of that is basically given by this equation. This is something that you already know by definition. Now here, if instead of x of 2, okay, if here instead of x of 2 I am going to substitute the Fourier series of x of 2, or if I substitute instead of x1 of t I am going to substitute, so let me write it here, so 1 by t, and I am going to substitute instead of x1, so 0 to t, there is no change in that. X1 I am going to write as generally what we write in terms of Fourier series, so summation. Now instead of n I am going to write L, so L is equal to minus infinity to infinity CL e raised to power j L omega naught t. So instead of n I have just used L, that's all. Okay, and then the remaining portion I will write it as x2 of t multiplication and e raised to power minus j n omega naught t dt. Now you can see here that these two are having same values, only thing is that here it is L and here it is n. Okay, so I can combine these two exponential functions together, and similarly since this is with respect to L, this much portion is with respect to L, I will take that portion outside since it's not going to be integrated. So that portion first I will take it outside. I will write it as, summation L is equal to minus infinity to infinity and then the remaining CL, but rest of the things I will leave inside, and I am going to write 1 by t integral 0 to t, and what remains is this x2, this, and then dt, correct? So I will first write x2 of t e raised to power j, and if I am going to write first n and then L, then I will write here minus, okay, then it is correct. So then minus j n minus L omega naught t dt, correct? I have written that part of the equation where I have basically joined these two sections together, and then obviously I have taken the integration inside. So basically I can write interchanging the order of integration and differentiation. So let me write that. I will get this. Then from here, if you look, this is what? This is the equation of the Fourier series of x2 of t, which we already know is dn, but here since the variable is not n but n minus L, so I will write this is as d of n minus L. So this much portion that is there, that I can write it as d of n minus L. So I will write this as Fourier series of x1 of t into x2 of t is equal to, so this much portion I have written. Now this whole portion I will write it as, the remaining portion I will write it as d of n minus L, and this is basically what we had written in the statement, so hence proved. The next property, the ninth property, is basically the conjugation property. If x of t gives a Fourier series of c of n, then the conjugation property says that if you are trying to take the Fourier series of x conjugate of t, that means conjugate of x of t, so x conjugate, if you are trying to take the Fourier series of that, then you will basically get its value as c minus n conjugate. That means the n value will be flipped and you will have the conjugate of that, and this is for the case for complex x of t, so for complex number, or sorry, for complex x of t. Okay, whereas the conjugation symmetry property states that for any real value of x of t, the negative n values, that means you have positive n values and you have negative n values, the positive n values will be basically the complex conjugate of the Cn value. That's why I said that the magnitude of the negative and the positive values are going to be same, but their angle will be different, and that is why this one. So this is for xt real. Okay, the real values of x of t. So let us prove this. It's a very simple one. So if we already know that if we want to take the Fourier series of x conjugate of t, then all you have to do is write x of t, x conjugate of t instead of x of t. Now you can see something. See, the conjugate is only for this function, but I can write the conjugate for this whole function, because basically 1 by t there will be no conjugate value, dt there will be not conjugate value. Here the conjugate value of this will be e raised to power j n omega naught t, isn't it? So basically I can write this equation by taking conjugate for the whole. The only thing is that I have to write this minus as plus. So I will write this as the whole conjugate of the equation, where you can see that I have basically changed the value from minus to plus. Why? Because if this conjugate goes inside, then this will become automatically e raised to power minus j n omega naught, and this will become x conjugate of t, which was just our previous equation. Now this equation is basically, you can say that this equation can be written as Cn, but there is a small issue. The issue is that there is no minus here. So what I will do is I will again rewrite this equation in this way, that I am having 1 by t, no problem, integral t naught to t naught plus capital T x of t, and now to just get a minus here, I will put a minus in n, then omega naught t dt, the whole conjugate. The whole conjugate, let me put conjugate as a clear symbol. Okay. So now this is basically what? This is basically C of minus n and the whole conjugate. So I can write therefore Fourier series of x conjugate of t is basically whatever is C of minus n, the conjugate of that. Hence proved. Next we will look into the Parseval's relation or Parseval's theorem or Parseval's property. So basically Parseval's relation and Parseval's identity or the Parseval's theorem are two different things. We will write one by one. It means one and the same thing, but two functions are there. Let us write it. If x1 of t gives me a Fourier series of Cn, and if x2 of t gives me a Fourier series of dn, then Parseval's relation is that the value of the value of correlation between x1 of t and x2 of t, or which is written as x2 conjugate of t. So here I have to write where x1 of t and x2 of t are complex. They are complex functions. Okay, so that into dt will be same as finding out summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity of Cn and multiplied with the complex conjugate of dn. So this is the Parseval's relation, and the Parseval's identity. And the Parseval's identity is, if you would consider x1 and x2 to be the same function, then this equation turns out to be 1 by t, sorry, I'll write it in a different color, 1 by t integral t naught to t naught plus capital T. X1 of t and x2 of t, both of them are same, and if you would multiply their conjugate, it is as good as writing that it is the magnitude of x of t. So what I have considered here, I have considered that x1 of t and x2 of t is same, that I will write here. Okay, then this above equation is the same equation, but what has happened is these both, since they are same, they will multiply and I will get a square value. So magnitude xt square is going to be equal to the summation of, since there is no dn, n is equal to minus infinity to infinity, I will get mod of Cn square. I have to write if x1 of t is same as x2 of t is same as x of t. That means I am considering that they are one and the same function. So both the equations are actually similar, but the meaning is different, because here when we do this, basically we are trying to find out the power of a complex periodic signal. And what this Parseval's identity is trying to give us is that if you want to calculate the power, you can do it in time domain by using this equation, or you can simply use this equation to find out the power, where you are using the Fourier coefficients. So Parseval's identity or Parseval's relation basically helps us to find out the power with the help of Fourier coefficients. Other than that, we had already studied that power can be found out by time domain, or in time domain by this equation that we have already studied in power signal and energy signal. So now let us prove it. So first, the Parseval's relation. So let us write what is the LHS of that. The LHS was 1 by t integral t naught to t naught plus capital T x1t into x2 of t conjugate, correct, dt. Now here if I am going to write what is the Fourier series expansion of x1 of t, I can write this equation as 1 by t integral t naught to t naught plus capital T Cn. Okay, Cn, not Cn. I will write, since I have to write it in the form, so I will write summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity Cn e raised to power Jn omega naught t multiplied with the remaining, that is x2 conjugate into dt. Correct? Now interchanging the order of integration and summation. Then I will get this is equal to, okay, this is equal to, I am going to change the order. So here the n terms can come outside. So summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity Cn, that can come outside, and what can go inside is 1 by t integral t naught to t naught plus capital T, and then x2 conjugate of t e raised to power Jn omega naught t dt. Correct? From where I can take this conjugation sign, I can take outside, just like I did previously in the previous theorem. I can take that out and I will write n is equal to minus infinity to infinity Cn, and I will take 1 by t integral t naught to t naught plus capital T, and then x2t e raised to power Jn omega naught t. If I am going to take the conjugate sign outside, then I will put a minus here, dt, the conjugate sign is outside. Okay, now what is this? what is this particular bracket? This is basically the Fourier coefficient of the function x2 of t, which is d of n. We already know it is basically d of n. So I can write, so the from where did I start? I started from the left hand side. So I can write that as LHS is equal to summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity Cn, and now within the brackets it is dn conjugate. Clear? Which I need not put the bracket as such. I can take out the bracket and I can straight away write as dn conjugate. Hence proved. Now we have to prove the second one, which is the Parseval's identity. So let us do that. So continuing from above, I will write if x1 of t is equal to x2 of t and that is equal to x of t, then from Parseval's relation that we have just now written, Parseval's relation that we have just now proved, I will get 1 by t integral t naught plus capital T x of t multiplied with another x of t conjugate dt, that is going to be equal to, here we are not having d of n because both the function are same, so I will write n is equal to minus infinity to infinity Cn multiplied with Cn conjugate. Correct? And we already know, okay, we know that if you multiply a function with its complex conjugate, then you will get the magnitude of the function square. Okay, and similarly, if you are going to take a number c of n and multiply it with its conjugate, you will basically get the magnitude of Cn square. Correct? Let me put that little bit inside. So magnitude of Cn square. Therefore the equation is now coming to its final conclusion. So I am going to write therefore 1 by t integral t naught to t naught plus capital T x of t magnitude square dt is equal to summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity Cn square. So if you want to find out what is the power, you can use this particular Parseval's identity, and you can basically find out the power by just taking the magnitude of C of n and square it and sum it up for all the different values of n. Then you will get the power. Okay, so with this we will finish all the properties of Fourier series. I know it's a lengthy video, but I wanted to take it all in a single video. That is why it went for so long. But I hope that this will be really helpful for you to get or understand the topic of Fourier series properties completely. This Fourier series property, we generally write it in the form of a table in which we are having all the 10 properties right from linearity all the way to Parseval's written together. Thank you.